Hey, it's James Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. So, a few videos back or down or wherever, I was talking about keeping a paper trail. But one thing I want to be clear about is never writing an open ended letter. So, if you're writing a letter to an attorney and saying, hey, your client hasn't, like the opposing attorney, hey, your client hasn't given me medical records, they're supposed to give me medical records. Or, hey, your client is withholding financials, or your client withheld the baby from me or didn't let me get my visitation. Can you ask her to start doing that? Can you hand over the stuff? And then guys will ask and ask, and then in a lot of consultations, people will say, I asked them for stuff and they didn't give it to me. Like, okay, why do you think they should give it to you? Well, I don't know. That's just the right thing to do. Look, man, you're in. I mean, you don't get to come into a Monopoly game and roll a three and get a move. You know, your piece. You know, your little game piece. 12 spots and land on boardwalk. You don't get to make up your own rules. So if you're in a game or situation like this, you don't get to just say, well, that's just what they should do. I mean, that's not how life works. So, first of all, stop thinking if you do something, this is what's going to happen. Talk to somebody who this stuff has worked for. There's so many people who don't get consultations with me, or they watch me for months and months and months, and then they get a consultation with me after they got royally screwed. And it's like, if you would have called me when you first saw me, you'd be in the driver's seat right now, or you'd be doing way better. Why would you wait? But writing letters, instead of asking them, you give them a deadline. You say, hey, you were court ordered to, or your client was court ordered to do a UA or a drug test. They haven't done it. It's past the deadline. If I don't hear back from you in 3 days or the end of the business day on Wednesday, July 10th or whatever, 11th or whatever, for example, I will assume that you are advising your client not to follow the court order. Oh, I will assume you're advising your client to withhold the child from me. Or I will assume you're holding on to records and you're helping your client defy the court order or defy the law, or you're helping your client do this. You think of the worst case scenario of what they're doing and the worst bad faith and the worst ethical violation the attorney's doing, and pin that on them. You put words in their mouth so that their non-answer is an answer. This is another common sense thing. This is a game an attorney engages in. And if you've been dealing with attorneys and you actually pay attention to your case and read letters and stuff like that, you'll notice, most of the stuff that I know, I picked up from the attorneys doing it, and I did the same thing. Once my baby's, I've talked to so many people like, well, they sent me questionnaires, but my attorney hasn't sent one, or I didn't send one. The first time I got interrogatories or questionnaires, which is a form of discovery, you know what I did? I sat down and I typed everything that they said in another document, and I switched it around and say, I'm asking you these questions. And I sent it off to them. I was like, oh, you can ask a million questions and stuff? And then I went and looked up the rules of discovery, and I typed it up and sent it off to them. That's just an automatic common sense thing. If you're going to do this, then I'm going to do that. If we're out in the battlefield and you're going to throw fire, or you're going to shoot fire arrows at me, I'm going to shoot fiery arrows at you. Duh. But we just sit there and like, oh my God, they're really attacking me. And it's like guys have such low self-esteem and I'm such a punching bag mentality that you can just punch me and I'll just sit here and wish that it goes away. If somebody swings at you, you swing back. If somebody tries to jump you, you push him off. You fight back. So if you see, you could have maybe your attorney or the opposing attorney didn't do anything like that, but most of the stuff that I have that I share with people is stuff that I picked up on and saw firsthand and saw how it's used. And this is part of getting on the offensive outside of court. Again, most of this stuff is one. A lot of you guys are caught up in this mentality that it's one between the lines in the courtroom. When you wear somebody down to the point they're going to surrender, that's mostly because of what you're doing outside of court. And, you know, my gender is so caught up in their emotions and their feelings. They lose a court hearing and they think it's the end of the world. You got trial in a year down the road or 7 months down the road, and you think it's the end. Like it's like you lost the first round on points, and you got 15 rounds in this heavyweight bout, and you're gonna throw in the towel because you got hit or you took an uppercut, you know, or you took a bad hit and it dazed you. Oh my God, he hit me, or he cheated, or he headbutted me. This isn't fair. You go out there and you start swinging. But when you write a letter, you give them a deadline, and then you say, or else I'll do this. Like, I guess I don't know if I just said it, but let's say your client didn't show up at the visitation exchange, or your client is telling me to meet at her house and we're supposed to meet at the police department. I'm not going over there and being entrapped and whatever. And that way you create a paper trail saying, look, I want to meet up. I want to do it according to the court order. And she might say, well, he never showed up to pick up the kid. And you express to the lawyer, I showed up at the police station. Your client wasn't there. Please admonish her to follow the order. And confirm with me that you did so, and I'd like some makeup time for the time I missed. This is just an example. I'm not saying this is exact. I mean, with your exact scenario, this is what a consultation is for, so that you can get a one-on-one with me so we can address the specifics of whatever your situation is in your case. But if you are telling the attorney in writing, and what, a lot of times if it's real urgent, I like to email and fax and mail or hand deliver a letter and get the receive stamp so that they got it 3 different ways, so they can't tell the court, oh, I didn't see that. But example of a letter completely in with the follow-up is, your client didn't meet me at the police station. She's demanding me to come over to her home. I can't do that. Her brothers threatened me one time. I don't want a hostile situation. I don't want a crime to occur. I don't want anything crazy to happen. Please admonish your client to meet me next time. I would like some makeup time. If I don't hear from you by the end of the day, Tuesday at 5 p.m., I will assume that you're advising your client to disregard the order and do whatever she wants. So that their non-answer is an answer. You put words in their mouth. And then you also say, I'll assume that you're advising your client to not do this and there's no hope in fixing this, so I'll have no choice but to go to court and do a contempt motion. Now, if that would drive an attorney to start complying, or getting his or her client to comply, because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get caught up and tied up in I'm advising the client. So they're going to want to answer you, and in order to answer you, they got to do what you say. This is where you take charge. And I just did a video where somebody says, oh, don't be that aggressive. You have to take charge, or else you're going to be a pushover little bitch. And then, by the time you go to court and do contempt, say, look, we came to court and we got a court order. The court order is clear. She has a lawyer. Why do we write stuff down on court orders or on paper if everybody can just not follow them? I need you to course compliance with her, because I actually wrote the attorney before I even filed this contempt motion and gave him another chance. Say, hey, can I get some makeup time? Hey, can you advise your client? He totally ignored me. So he's basically saying, like I said, if I don't, I hoped for the best, but I assumed the worst. And I told him, if you don't answer, I'm going to assume this is what your stance is. He didn't answer. He's not trying to talk her into complying. So I don't have any choice but to come to court. I've exhausted all the remedies outside of court. And that's getting on the offensive and taking charge of the case. And then you guys, or some of you guys, say, oh, you can't be aggressive like that. That's being firm yet aggressive. It's not even being aggressive. That's being firm and getting on the offensive. That's what I'm talking about. Moving forward, taking charge. You doing stuff instead of passively waiting back. Oh, what's her next move? Let me defend that. What's her next move here? Let me defend that. She's a child abusing megalomaniac narcissist with suicidal tendencies. I don't want to bring that up in court. Those are the factors that help me win, but that makes her look bad, and I don't want to make her look bad because I look like I'm aggressive, according to this hypothetical, radical feminist myth that keeps all these men at bay to never fight. So I'm not going to bring it up, even though the factors in the law say if those are problems, I should have custody. But I'm not going to bring them up because I don't want to use evidence that's going to help me win and make her look bad, because that'll make me look bad making her look. You guys are freaking nuts if you believe that bull crap. Grow some balls and be a man and stop being scared of some rumors from some off in la la land. And when you're writing letters, don't ever write an open-ended letter where you just ask them for something, because they don't have to do it. Nobody has to do anything that you say. The only time anybody has to do something in life is when a court orders it, when you're arrested by cops who see you committing a crime, you have to get cuffed. Or technically when there's a law, that you can or can't do this or that, like you have to stop at a red light. Now you can run through it and maybe even get away with it or not get ticketed, but that's what you have to do. If there's a law, there's a court order, or if there's, a police officer can exercise their discretion, then you have to follow them, and they're going to make you follow them because they're going to handcuff you. But outside of that, nobody has to do anything. So asking an attorney who's the enemy, who's the advocate and the mouthpiece for your enemy, that attorney is in the enemy's camp. When do you ever just, you're in the middle of a war and say, hey, can you stop bombing me over there? Or, hey, can you tell me where your next ambush is planned? You go and you demand stuff from them and then give them a deadline and put words in their mouth. If you don't get by this deadline, if you don't answer me or comply or answer or hand over stuff by this deadline, then, or another good one is, I was talking to a guy in a state where, the discovery process, you send a questionnaire. If they don't answer by the 30-day deadline or whatever it is in your state, then you do a discovery conference over the phone. Hey, when can we have the discovery, the answers to discovery? Or if they give you answers that are incomplete or half-assed or whatever, then you make a phone call and say, hey, let's do a phone conference. You email them, say, when can we do a discovery phone conference? And you say, hey, I need my stuff. They say, give us 30 days. You had 30 days. You got 3 days. They say, well, give us like 2 weeks. Okay, 10 days. And then you agree on 10 days. Then you follow up and email them, say, okay, thanks for the discovery conference. I look forward to your answers in 10 days. Don't get them in 10 days. Then you do a motion to compel. But instead of starting a motion to compel, you can write a reminder letter and say, hey, I didn't get the answers. Or you say, hey, I want to do a discovery conference. And they don't do the discovery conference. Then you might say, hey, I asked for a discovery conference. I never got a call back from you or an email. If I don't hear from you by the end of the day tomorrow, I will assume you refuse to engage in a discovery conference and have no choice but to go to the next step and do a motion to compel. So when you're in court, you say, hey, look, I emailed them for a discovery conference. Then I said, I never heard from you, and then I gave them a deadline. And so so you can go in court and argue they refuse to engage in discovery conference. They say, no, we don't. Say, well, what about this letter? And they, oh, we didn't get that. Your Honor, I faxed it, I emailed, and I dropped it off at their office. Boom, you're covered. Duh. Now, some of you guys might go, oh, whoa, I never thought of that before. But you've been watching my videos for 3 or 4 months. You would have already known how to do that, because in a one-on-one consultation, I would have told you, if you have a couple of demands that you need answers on or whatever, I would have told you this. This is why these tidbits of information aren't complete enough for you to completely understand everything that you need in your case. That's why people need a consult with me. It's amazing to me. Like I was doing it on Instagram Live. I have people who call me, who see my videos like, James, I need to talk to you right now. When can I talk to you? How do I pay? Boom, they want to talk to me because they see my videos and they're sick and tired of being a coward, or their attorney stifling them. They're sick and tired of getting ran over. What I say resonates with them, and boom, they know they need to move forward because there's a sense of urgency and they actually give a damn about their kids, and they're not sitting back waiting and just lazily thinking, oh, the attorney will handle it. The attorney's in charge. I'll leave it to my attorney. I'm not going to be engaged in the court case that dictates the life with my kid. There's people who have a sense of urgency. Now, it's always going to be 99% of the guys aren't going to do this, but I still, kind of wish 20% of them would, because we could turn the court system upside down. So if you don't know everything you need to know, get a consultation. And don't write open-ended letters.